is the tale of two-tier Keir, known across the land as the Granny Harmer, a soulless little man who betrayed the farmer. Hey! He stands at the podium talking shite. No backbone, no fire, just an embarrassing sight. A puppet for donors that pull on his string. Can't answer a question, can't deliver anything. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Keir Starmer's a wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. A liar, a coward, a wank, wank, wank. Starmer's a parasite lining his nest. A two-faced liar, no better than the rest. A man with no passion, a puppet, a plank. Now let's be honest, the guy's just a wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Keir Starmer's a wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. A liar, a coward, a wank, wank, wank. A knight of the realm, he's a bloody disgrace. A deceitful fraud who would lie to your face. He'd hand back our freedom, betray what we won, to crawl back to Brussels, the toolmaker's son. So raise up your glasses, let's make it clear. We've all had enough of two-tier Keir. He promised us plenty, delivered us nought. So shout it together, we want him out! Keir Starmer's a wanker. Wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Wank, wank, wank. Keir Starmer's a wanker. Wank, 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 wank.
Well, there you are. Keir Starmer is a wanker, according to that song. And a welcome, by the way, to the Country Telegraph for the UK, New Zealand, Australia, and other parts of the world. Nice to have your company. It's a Friday. I'm feeling a bit buoyed after that too. I can almost bring out my kilt, except I haven't got one, so that would be awfully embarrassing. I can see Ross Johns in the background. He'll be on with us shortly. We're going to talk about some very serious things. But before that, because this is a first week, brand new program, entirely about the farmer. And not that I have been, not mesmerised, I suppose, smitten by the Young Farmer of the Year award in Queensland. Her name is Belle, and she's 25 years old, and truly a great, she works the farm basically herself, paid for it out of her own money, because she absolutely adores farming, as most farmers do. It's hard yakka, but they absolutely adore it, and they are an absolute necessity. Whether you are UK, New Zealand, Australia, US, it is absolutely necessary to make sure that our food supply has the security it requires. Cam, could you play Belle?
G'day, my name is Belle and I have just been named Queensland's Top Young Farmer of 2025. Now, yesterday I did post a video just saying in the middle of it, I was a little bit unsure as to why I won. Especially because I was up against, so many other bloody amazing people doing something great for the agricultural industry. And I was like, how the fuck did I get number one? Who the hell voted for me? And upon reflection, I think I have some sort of idea as to why I come out as number one, and I just wanted to share them with you. Now, first off, I run my own property single-handedly. I don't run it single-handedly all of the time, but majority of the time I do. Now, every now and then I will get, I'll have to get contractors in, or I'll have to have family or neighbours or friends help me in the yards, because yards is not just a one-person job. That's like a fucking several-person job. And I can imagine that must be a massive inspiration for younger people, knowing that one girl can almost do it all. Almost. Not all of it, but almost. And I bloody love it that way. I fucking love it. If I can take it, I can bloody make it. And I sort of like to push myself as much as I can to see how much one person can really do. I've also been lucky enough to share my life online as Farmer Belle, and what turned out as a little bit of fun at the start has really turned into something bloody great. I'm able to shed light on the agricultural industry and give you an insight into our days and what it's like farming, whether it's, you know, it's the good, the bad or the ugly, everything we're sort of faced with. And yeah, no day's the same. I'm going to say that's for damn sure, and if I'm having a shit day, you're going to bloody know about it. For me, it is not just about telling my story, it is about encouraging others to write their own. I want people of all ages, of both genders, to know that there is a place for them in agriculture. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, born into farming or whether you're just starting out and you've got no background at all. As long as you have the heart and the drive, this industry has a place for you. Now, I've always believed that farming isn't just a job, it is a lifestyle. It is a bloody community, and we are all banding together to feed the country. You know, we've always got one goal, and that's feed the bloody country. It's pretty bloody tough out here. You can have your good days, you can have your hard days. It all depends on the fucking weather. We are taking a gamble every single day. And with my platform, if I'm able to just help out, you know, one person by getting into the agricultural industry and following their dreams, or if I'm helping another person by being proud of, you know, the food that is on their plate, then I know I'm doing at least one thing right. Another little thing that I do want to mention is it's fairly fucking ironic that majority of Australia is complaining, being like, corporations outside of Australia are buying Australian farms. We need to stop this. And then some 25-year-old young farmer comes along and buys properties, keeps it in the Australian name, you know, all of a sudden, oh, that's how she bought the properties. Sorry, are we going to forget that I just bought properties instead of some corporations buying these properties? Are we going to forget that, you know? Anyway, I just thought that was a little bit ironic, but I'm just gonna leave that there. You know, it's better some 25-year-old OnlyFans chick buys properties in Australia and gives back to Australia rather than corporations overseas. Think about that. Now, I know it is a very controversial subject as to how I bought my properties, and I think whilst it's easy to judge, I think it speaks bloody volumes that I had to resort to one specific thing to own my own properties at 25 years of age. Now it's so easy to judge, you know. I've seen comments and they never affect me. You've got to be fucking as tough as the land that raised you if you want to be in the social media industry. And I never take anything to heart, but I find it so interesting how easy it can be for people to judge. You know, the first thing they see is she bought her farms with OnlyFans money. You know, that's not a real farmer. I could be out here, I could be buying sports cars and mansions, and I could be wearing bloody Louis Vuitton, and, you know, but I'm out here covered in animal shit and dust, and I'm feeding my country. I'm giving back to my country. I'm putting my country before myself. I'm sort of sacrificing myself in a way. And I just wanted to say that it's quite bloody humorous that it's so easy to judge, but I think it speaks bloody volumes that I had to go down that route of you know, doing OnlyFans to fund my own properties. It's quite difficult, and you know, I really want to be an advocate for women in agriculture, and whilst it's easy to say, you know, you're not no bloody influencer for my young girls, I'm teaching your young girls that do what you fucking need to do. You don't have to take the bloody route that I did, but don't let anyone hold you back with how the hell you want to achieve your dreams. Unless they're funding your dreams, they don't get a fucking say. Tell them to shove it up their ass. And I think it speaks volumes that I had to go down that route. I was always told that I would have to marry into a rich farming family, and I was like, fuck that, I'm going to marry for love. I'm not marrying to own a property some man owns. What the hell? I want to own my bloody own. And yeah, I just want to be an advocate for younger people and for women specifically in agriculture, because I never fair bloody go, you know. Women are often paid less than men. Women are often, you know, men are chosen before us. We always come second best, and we're always judged how we make our money. You know, I always get told, "Oh, it's daddy's farm." You know, that's never said to men. I don't think I've ever had a man say that to him in my presence. Whereas it's straight to the woman. How'd you get your money? You know, how'd you get your money? Whereas when it comes down to men, it's like, congratulations, mate. You're doing a top job working on your dad's farm. You're going to take over this one day and you're going to do fucking spectacular. That's never said to a woman. But yeah, I just wanted to shed light on it, that it speaks volumes that I had to go down that route, and whilst it must be easy to judge, it's always the second thought that counts. I want you to remember that. You have that first negative thought, it says a lot. If you have a second one that comes after it, that is a more positive thought. But yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's ever supported me. And I just want to keep, you know, like, this isn't going to stop me, none of this negativity. It's just going to fuel me, if anything, and I'm going to keep shedding light on the agricultural industry, and I'm going to keep encouraging everyone of all ages and, you know, either gender, to go after their dreams and do whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, the agricultural industry, we always have our, you know, we have our arms wide open for you, and there's always a place for you. So keep trucking on, everybody. I bloody love ya. This is a fucking long video. If you've stayed this long, you're a fucking legend. Anyway, mwah!
There you are. Some good country speak there. And I apologise for Ross Johns. His ears would have been burning because he's pure. Maybe not. He's just chuckling in the background. Before we get into Ross Johns, we'll set this up, and hopefully we'll have a connection, because apparently he can hear us now, so that's a good sign. I just want to play this. This is a very short explanation about the established health effects from electromagnetic radiation. Cam, can you play turbines?
You'll notice that in that video they were talking about noise, but they also mentioned electromagnetic radiation. These turbines produce electricity, and it's all about electromagnetic radiation. And the radiation we're talking about is non-ionising electromagnetic radiation. The best way to explain it is not nuclear, okay? There is a difference between it. The non-ionising electromagnetic radiation apparently does not change the DNA, while ionising radiation does, which is basically nuclear, such as X-rays, etc. Does anybody know what the difference is between your normal radiation coming from the turbines and nuclear radiation actually is? The only difference is the frequency, how fast it actually impacts or penetrates the human body in regards to its speed. So if you're talking about hertz, you've probably heard of that before. So if I have 1 hertz or 50 hertz, such as we have in PowerPoints, for example, which is pretty much what most of our electricity is today, that means that my body is being exposed to radiation 50 cycles per second. So basically what it means is every second my body is being penetrated and hit with electromagnetic radiation 50 times. Telecommunications towers, such as the one that you've got in the main street here in Warracknabeal, okay, that thing penetrates people at 2.5 million times per second. There's a big difference between the different frequencies, and all it is that basically the best way to explain it is nuclear is really just a higher frequency. It just means it penetrates a lot quicker. That's the only difference, okay? So we'll keep going. So these are some of the symptoms that can be associated with exposure to non-ionising electromagnetic radiation. Now, you'll notice that I've got right at the top of that is salt, and I'll explain that as we go through what that means. But we've got tinnitus. Now, you'll probably notice in the previous video, they were talking about tinnitus and a lot of these symptoms. And in my opinion, I think that a lot of it might have been, even though it was noise, it was in fact the electromagnetic radiation that they were really talking about. So if we have a look at it, we've got ear pain, skin rash, skin lesions, electromagnetic hypersensitivity, commonly known as EHS. We have Epstein-Barr virus reactivation, heart palpitations, eye tremor, etc., 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 and it goes on. But the one I really want you to have a good look at is interference with pacemakers, okay, alteration of the synapse activity of the brain, leukemia, okay, can activate the HWL-1 virus, particularly in children, blood disorders, brain fog, headaches, and the last one there is Alzheimer's. And I'm going to back it all up with science and obviously Australian authorities as to what this is all about. The industry is going to tell you there are no established health effects. Well, I'm going to tell you that's not correct. There are established health effects. So let's have a look at some of them.
So there you are. They are established health effects from electromagnetic radiation. Ross Johns is president of the Wimmera Mallee Environmental and Agricultural Protection Association. That's a mouthful. WMEAP is easier.com. Ross, thanks for joining us. These
No problems.
These turbines and windmills that they want to plonk around all over Australia, in fact, all over the globe, I would see their dangers far outweigh their benefits.
Well, there's lots of issues with the fast-track renewable process that the government's put in place. And I think if it was a proper process and it was thoughtful and considered, I would have much less concern. But this is a fast-track renewable process, shortcutting a lot of safeguards in building, environmental safeguards that everyone else in society has to abide by.
Why is it fast-tracked?
Well, you'll have to ask Chris Bowen that. I
thank
think if it's good for Australia, we should do it in a considered way. We shouldn't rush into these things and then in years to come find negative outcomes that far outweigh the positive benefits.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I could go on, but I won't. But windmills or wind turbines are not my favourite topics. Can you tell us about the Wimmera Mallee Association that you head?
Okay. Well, it's a group of farmers and community people that are very nervous about the fast-track renewable build process. We've got around about, after 9 or 10 months of operating or functioning, we've got around about 280 members. Every time the government comes out and opens their mouth, we get more members, which I love. It just keeps on building and building. People are desperate for a proper process, not a fast-track process at all.
Do you think one of the problems is that most of these people in Canberra, in Parliament, ruling this country, have got no idea? I mean, probably the closest they've been to, many of them at least, been to near a farm would be the supermarket in the fresh fruit and veggies section, and then they'd pass by the liquor land outside buying a couple of good reds, which again comes from the land too. Comes from the land. What are the key challenges for all farmers in 2025? I mean, and because I am from the land, but nothing like what you do. We're more growers, but just looking at you have all the environmental. I mean, I don't mean climate change. I just mean weather. It's got rain. You get too much rain, it wrecks the crop or destroys a crop. If you have not enough rain, the crop dies. Get a hailstorm, it does all these sort of things.
The droughts and flooding rains we can handle because
the government
all through history we've had droughts and flooding rains, but poor government decisions is just appalling. Our government signed the Paris Agreement, I think it was in 2015, but they also, under that Paris Agreement, they committed to not negatively impacting food production. And everything I'm seeing in a fast-track process is impacting negatively on Australia's capacity to produce food. Now, Australians don't have to worry too much because we produce 3 times more food than we consume domestically. But people in Indonesia and Pakistan and Egypt and Iran are very concerned about food security, and the United Nations is certainly very concerned about food security, and I think Australia and the Australian government should be as well.
Yeah, even because this is a global program, we do other countries, mostly the UK, and their government is doing all it can to close the farms down. Last year, 6,300 odd farms closed. Now, that's an enormous amount. Could you imagine if that happened in Australia? And if you look at the way the government here is moving, it's almost a mirror of the UK government. And the end result is that our food security is placed at risk, and we also have we're going to have basically farmers will have the seat out of their pants, and they're not going to have anything to live on. What do you think the end goal is here from government, whether it's state or federal?
Well, I can't really understand what their strategy is. I think government are ignoring the fact that we need to provide food for human beings. Globally, there's 8.2 billion people on the planet today, and the United Nations Population Committee is forecasting 10 billion by 2061. We actually need to produce more food. And why is agriculture important to Australia? Agriculture feeds the country and provides 14% of our export revenue. And why is agriculture important to Victoria? Victorian farmers control 1.5% of Australia's landmass, and yet we produce 25% of Australia's agricultural output. Agriculture is an important human endeavour, and 3 times a day every person eats, and they should thank a farmer when they do that.
And it just shows you the Australian farmers are punching way above their weight. But Australian farmers have done that all their lives, and they're through generations. It's just now, though, that I think government, or over the last say 10 years, but government with this climate crap, they don't care. They're sort of on this crusade to save the planet. I mean, look at the terrible methane gas passed by animals. Well, the other day I found out the actual percentage of it. It is 0.0003% of the. Now, if that's the case, I mean, obviously the government is stupid, a bit thick behind the ears, but they're not doing Australia in this case any good.
Well, I guess that question is about whether we should follow a net zero policy. And our government's committed us to a net zero policy, but realistically, we can't burn coal to create cheap energy for our pensioners under this arrangement. But we can still export 1 million tonnes of coal plus gas to keep the energy prices cheap in India and Indonesia and China. It makes absolutely no sense to me why we've got all these beautiful resources in Australia, coal, natural gas, uranium, and yet we can't improve the lives of our citizens by using those resources.
Well, there's one, uranium. I mean, the clean energy, very, very safe. We encourage the rest of the world to buy our uranium, but we don't do it ourselves. We're going to destroy the farmland. And look at the windmills or the turbines that go up. The uncertainty, I mean, sure, there's a small cash windfall. And if you're on the land, sometimes if your bum's almost out of the seat of your pants, you got to do what you have to do. But the uncertainty is what happens if that company goes belly up? Where's the guarantees? Does the farmer have to pay for the removal of those turbines? Of course they do. And then the valuation of the land, it depreciates because you got this great windmill stuck in the middle of the land, and then your neighbours aren't all that happy with you. And if you looked at what they do to you with the health effects from the electromagnetic radiation, I mean, why aren't you in Spring Street or doing something a little more there? Because truly, you've got some real problems, and it's not just your problems, it's Australia's problems.
I don't know. I think the Australian population are going to be saddled with higher and higher energy prices with this fast-track renewable build. And I feel for the pensioners, the young families. I feel for those workers of Australia that are struggling to pay their taxes. Those taxes are getting passed off to global multinationals to build and construct these things. Why aren't we guaranteeing people a better medical service, a better road infrastructure? And road infrastructure in regional Victoria is just collapsing. Or a better education. Let's not charge people for university education. Let's put our resources into that rather than a non-commercial build of renewable energy, which is high cost and unreliable. It doesn't always generate power.
Well, Senator Malcolm Roberts, who's a very good friend of us and also does an enormous amount of good for Queensland, he calls them the unreliables, and they are. What other priorities for your organisation?
Well, certainly the environment. There's the potential extinction of species, which is being fast-tracked now by government process and protocols, and I think every Australian should reject the extinction of unique Australian wildlife. And a few examples are the orange-bellied parrot, the Robbins Island wind farm, which has been fast-tracked, is probably going to lead to their complete extinction in the wild. The Pottinger wind farm in the Weeroona is likely to lead to significant decline in population of the plains wanderer, not just a unique species, but a totally unique genus. The bent-winged bat in the southern bent-winged bat in Victoria, I suspect will be driven to extinction by building these wind turbines. We're going to have high-cost energy, and we're going to have reduced wildlife populations across Australia, and it just doesn't make any sense. Globally, we've got India, China, and the US who are not abiding by net zero. So the Australian contribution to reducing carbon emissions will account to a very, very small amount, 1.1% of global emissions.
It's incredible. Before we get to the next bit, I'm just looking at Crymelon. I was wondering why I haven't heard of it. According to Wiki, you got 15 people there. Is that?
Well, I'm surprised there's 15. But Crymelon is a small farming district, northwest of Warracknabeal, between Warracknabeal and Jeparit. And Jeparit's where Bob Menzies was born, our longest-serving Prime Minister in Australia.
I'm from the Big Smoke. I'm from Mildura originally,
Right.
and actually we're from a place called Cardross, which is.
I know Cardross.
Well, there you are. You're about the only person that does.
I was there last week.
Oh, were you? Good on you.
Yes.
Good on you. I left as soon as I turned 18, by the way, which is some time ago. There's an event this weekend. What are you drawing attention to?
Well, the ridiculous emergency services and volunteers fund levy that the Victorian government's put in place. They're charging this levy on all property owners in Victoria, but particularly on farmland. It's 420% higher than metropolitan residential, and farmers are absolutely opposed to this levy at that level. We probably can accept paying a similar amount to metropolitan residential, but to pay 420% higher is just totally ridiculous. This government's got to listen to us. I suspect there's going to be an enormous amount of people extremely upset and irate at the process that government's adopted in applying this levy. It really is just a land tax. It's a tax grab, and this government's out of touch with the constituents of Australia, Victoria.
I thought they would have got the message when a bunch of you blokes chased the Prime Minister in your tractors down the main street of Ballarat, but obviously they haven't.
I was there in Ballarat when that happened, and
Were you on a tractor?
I was extremely impressed by the number of tractors and the motivation of farmers to get their point across. And I must say, farmers are diligent people. They're thoughtful. They're considerate. But when they're enraged by poor government policy, they can chase the Prime Minister down the street of Ballarat past the Peter Laylaw Hotel, no problems.
I saw his car driving extremely fast. I wonder if he got a ticket because he wasn't sitting on the speed limit. You guys,
Good question. You'll have to ask him that.
Yeah, actually, there is a good question there because he was speeding, and some of his manoeuvres weren't terribly legal. Now, those being taxed, can they afford it?
Well, I think any tax on farmers is going to lead to lower agricultural output. But the point I guess I'd really like to make is that it's so unfair. It's been targeted directly on farmers and not spread evenly across the population. But we're getting lower and lower services. The bushfires in the Little Desert and the Grampians National Park, which were extreme, After the Bushfire Royal Commission was delivered, it recommended the Victorian government cool burn 5% of Victoria's bush and scrubland. Nowhere near that has been burnt, and those fires have actually been significantly worse as a result of poor government process and not following those recommendations out of that Bushfire Royal Commission.
Yeah, you should let the farmers look after it. I mean, your whole livelihood is tied up in the land, and the thing you won't do is let it go to rack and ruin. Government will. What about your concerns about the interconnection? We had a chap on yesterday, and he was appalled and told us some terrible stories. What's your concerns?
What was that chap's name, Mike? If I can.
I've forgotten his name.
Right. Okay. Well, look, the renewable build and the transmission lines is high cost. Professor Bruce Mountain believes it's completely unnecessary to build the Western Renewable Link and the VNI West. The cost there is enormous, like billions, in the tens of billions of dollars. The total cost of a fast track renewable build is something like 2.3 trillion. Surely Australia can use that money more wisely rather than build a high cost, unreliable energy supply system. And we can do so much better with those that amount of resources that ultimately will be paid by hard-working taxpayers and Australians.
The government, have they responded to your concerns?
Well, I'm still waiting for a call from Tony Albanese, and I'm happy to accept his calls. Chris Bowen may wish to ring me as well.
No.
And Jacinta Allen, I'm sure we can negotiate a peace deal, peace treaty. Otherwise, people in Western Victoria have declared war on this fast-track renewable process that's not a proper process.
Yep, it's really interesting. I mean, I saw the response that she had, Jacinta Allen had in Ballarat. It was just behind the chasing of the Prime Minister down the main stretch. Where do farmers go from here?
Well, there's certainly going to be a protest on Sunday, 11 o'clock at the Weeroona Oval in Bendigo. I think we can voice our opinion again. We can sound the alarm that rural Victoria and rural Australia is extremely distressed by poor government process. I guess at the end of the day, if farmers aren't wanted or the government doesn't want farmers in Australia, we will be increasingly taxed, but farmers will not go down without a fight. Farmers produce 14% of Australia's export revenue, and we're an important part of the economy, and we deserve to be listened to. We deserve at least the good sense of a leader to consult with us in a reasonable and fair way. A fast track process with no community consultation is not a proper consultation, and we've got to do much better than that.
Yep, the guy's name was Glendon Watts, by the way. You know, when you have those mental blocks, it's like,
that's fine. Leonard Watts.
He was very good. He spoke very clearly and enunciated beautifully. We're just going to play this just before what we might do is say cheers for now, and then we'll play this ad, which we pulled off the Facebook page for the CFA. If somebody wants to find out more about you, how do they do that, Ross?
Well, it's either on Facebook or on the internet. There's a web page all set up. Just Google Wimmera Mallee Environmental and Agricultural Protection Association.
And the all-important question, who's going to win the footy?
Well, that's much more unpredictable, but seeing as Carlton's out, I'm not really that interested.
You another Carlton supporter?
Oh, yes, pig's ass.
Lordy Lord.
That's a long time ago, and yes, we're still waiting to win another grand final.
Yeah, I'm a St Kilda supporter. We're very grateful to Carlton, which is fantastic.
Well, everyone remembers 1966.
That's right.
They're a Kilda supporter.
Long time ago. You win that one. Ross Johns, thank you very much for your time. By the way, the website is...
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, the website's wmeap.com. Ross Johns will do this again very shortly. This is the Country Telegraph with me, Mike Ryan.
The king may rule over land and sea. The lord may live right royally. The soldier ride in pomp and pride. The sailor roam over ocean wide. But this or that, whatever befall, the farmer, he must feed them all. The writer thinks, the poet sings, the craftsman fashion wondrous things. The doctor heals, the lawyer pleads, the miner follows, the precious leads. But this or that, whatever befall, the farmer, he must feed them all. The merchant, he may buy and sell. The teacher do his duty well. But men may toil through busy days, or men may stroll through pleasant ways. From king to beggar, whatever befall, the farmer, he must feed them all. The farmer's trade is one of worth. He's partner with the sky and earth. He's partner with the sun and rain, and no man loses for his gain. And men may rise, or men may fall, but the farmer, he must feed them all. God bless the man who sows the wheat, who finds us milk and fruit and meat. May his purse be heavy, his heart be light, his cattle and corn and all go right. God bless the seeds his hands let fall. For the farmer, he must feed us all.
We are sick of being lied to. The Emergency Services Volunteer Fund is a lie, and it strips money out of the pockets of all hard-working Victorians. We are being charged more while our emergency services are being cut down right in front of our eyes. We must stand together in Bendigo with our CFA volunteers.
There you are, and a great cause. You have to be there. It's especially if you're nearby, and a couple of hours' drive is not going to hurt you. You need solidarity. John Houston is CFA Volunteers President. John, thanks for joining us. How important is this rally? Hello, John. John can't hear us. Maybe what we might do, Cam, is just go to a quick commercial break and we'll come back to John. This is the Country Telegraph.
Yes! I'm the best.
Congratulations, Gerald. But unfortunately, boasting is un-Australian. Dorothy.
He stole my recipe.
Dobbing is also very un-Australian.
Hey, lady! You're un-Australian!
Cheat stick? Un-Australian!
What's the deal with people in Australia? Did they just...
There's a word.
Is that kombucha un-Australian?
The worst thing you can ever call an Australian.
Where do they go?
Oh, just an infinite cultural exile from which they can never return. Okay, yeah. It's getting a little out of hand. Won't no one left soon.
Ruby, can you turn it up? Subtitles? Un-Australian.
Great, now I can't get a drink. This whole bloody pub is un-Australian. Oh, fuck!
What are you here for?
Tried to eat a meat pie with these.
Don't know the words to K-San.
Charged him $1 for tomato sauce.
What is this? Where am I?
Lamb. How's that un-Australian?
All I said was, bon appetit.
Beautiful day. Lamb. Doesn't get any better than this. Well, that was an unexpected escalation.
It's 0 alcohol.
Still free beer, though.
Bludgeoning is un-Australian.
It's lazy, not un-Australian.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Where did you get that?
The Exile barbecue. Everyone's there, mate.
There's a lamb barbecue happening in Exile? Go the All Blacks!
I'm a weak swimmer.
Feature doesn't belong on a burger.
Un-Australian?
Looks like we're all a bit un-Australian.
Guess that's what makes us Australian.
How do we get that?
Why would you want to?
And we're back, and hopefully all is working well. John Houston is CFA Volunteers President. John, can you... No, he's just disappeared. Cam, Cam, what a beer. It's Friday. Cam, play Worry.
Had a few days now to digest this budget and this imposition of inheritance tax on farmers who have land worth over and assets worth over £1 million. Where are you at with it now, Kelly? Now the picture has emerged more clearly on what this might mean.
I think it's a travesty for agriculture. This is on the back of Labour approving 7,000 acres of solar panels very early on in them coming into power, which has increased land values with people fighting for land. 56% of non-farmers bought land in 2023. So that has increased land values, which we are now being punished for. I would love to only have an asset of £1 million, but the fact of the matter is when the farm was purchased, it has risen in value. We probably have a mortgage on about 50% of that land value. But if something happened tomorrow, we would have to find the money for the full asset, irrespective of what is outstanding on the mortgage.
And Kelly, what would your farm, we can be impertinent, what roughly is your farm worth? Because we could then work out how much tax you're going to have to pay.
Probably between 3 and 4 million.
Right. And I think that is fairly standard. That's quite, I think the average dairy farm is worth around 3 million, 3.2 million. So you're in the average territory.
Yeah, we're a family dairy farm. We milk 250 cows. It's very much a family business, nothing extravagant. But yeah, the fact of the matter is we would have to find the inheritance tax for the full asset, irrespective of any creditors, of any liabilities, of any mortgage. So it would just finish us completely. We have had figures from the Country Land Association saying that 70,000 farms will be affected. As of Q2 in 2024, we only have 108,300 farms left in the UK. And of that, 70,000 will be affected by this tax.
Just remind us as well, it's tough being a farmer. Labour don't seem to understand how tough it is. You're a dairy farm. How much profit do you make on a pint of milk, or I don't know if a gallon of milk, Kelly? I don't know how you would measure it. How much profit do you make?
So we sell in litres. I think we're up to about 38 pence a litre at the moment, but cost of production is still high. We're still being hit by the inflation in interest rates. So it's tight.
Kelly,
very tight. And
I'm really interested in what you said at the start of the interview about the fact that so much farmland has been bought up by people who aren't farmers, particularly for solar panel estates. Let's not call them solar farms. There's nothing about them which is like a farm. Why has that happened, and how has that been able to happen?
From my understanding, the Tories passed a compulsory purchase order, which meant that councils wouldn't have to overpay for farmland. So they're not paying possibly the value. But also you have large corporations buying farmland in a lot of areas. Farmers can't afford to buy farmland because they're competing with big corporations trying to buy land to offset their carbon footprint.
And of course, Kelly, the worry is if a family farm like yours goes, it will be taken over by a corporation with very little concern about the workers, the traditions, because your family's presumably been in this business for a very long time.
Yeah, so my husband's fourth generation. And the reality of the matter is this is going to raise less than £1 billion per year. At the same time, the Labour government are spending £28.5 billion on carbon capture over 5 years, £10 billion on clean energy, £11.6 billion on overseas climate aid.
It's a massive scam. It's a massive scam. To be clear, when you say these corporations are offsetting their carbon footprint, so you can run a factory polluting the environment or whatever it is that you're making, and if you buy up a few acres of farmland and stick some plastic solar panels on that farmland, you can sit back and say, I fulfilled my environmental and social governance, and look, I've got some solar panels there. What do you mean you need food? You're not allowed to have food. We're not going to allow farmers to buy food, to grow food for you to buy. We are doing our due diligence with our environmental obligations. It makes me sick, Kelly. How is the mood amongst the farming community? Are you defeated or are you fighting?
I think the first few days felt very defeated. It's the latest on the attack of farming. The key really is the mental health implications of this. It's another worry on already laden shoulders with many people sick with worry. Farming has the highest suicide rate across the country of any industry. And this has just put another nail in that coffin. Nothing sequesters carbon, by the way, better than grass.
Yeah, grass and trees.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And a lot of that land is being bought actually for tree planting as well as solar panels. But you can't eat trees. This, however, produces nutritious food.
So there you are. It's a terrible life being on the land because you have government. It used to be weather and market prices. Now it's government. Now we have, due to our magnificent tech people, including John Houston, who's CFA. I wanted to use the thing Houston. We have a problem. John Houston is CFA Volunteers President. John, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Welcome to be here.
Now, tell me about the this rally we're having on Sunday and how important it is.
Oh, look, it's very important. So the rally is CFA tankers or volunteers are bringing the tankers, and there's farmers bringing tractors. We're going into Bendigo, which is the Premier's home seat. So we're going right into her heartland and basically going to show her what we think of her tax and where she can put her tax.
You would think she would know better because she's almost a bushie, although I suppose she spends most of her time in Melbourne. But surely she must understand that what she and her government is doing is just going to create this incredible pressure on farmers that we just saw the story there from the UK where there's a lot of suicides. I mean, and there are more and more suicides in Australia because there is no way out. And surely she understands this, being the quasi-bushie.
Oh, look, I'm really just dumbfounded that they can have the little or no respect for people that, the heartland of the food community, and they just have no respect for them at all. It's just it beggars disbelief how you could treat people the way the Labor government are treating us at the moment. She's a family person. She's got her own kids. You don't treat your kids like that. You don't treat your family like that. I bet she doesn't treat her uncles and aunties and cousins like that. But yet, we're all a family in Victoria. Yet a lot of our families getting crucified out in the bush, so to speak, and it's devastating. It's shocking. You touched on suicides. And I don't want to go down that path too much, but there has been a lot of talk about farmers that have actually, it's just the final straw for them. And unfortunately, we've lost some through the program at the moment. So it's just, I don't really know where they're coming from. Like, how can you just have no empathy for your fellow people that voted you in?
Yeah, it's just incredible. Tell me about the levy. Will many farmers be able to afford it?
Well, not really. The farmers are stretched at the moment. A lot of them are going through drought situations. Like, we worked it back to a good friend of mine we broke it down to a household. So he's got his levy used to be around $2,500, and this year it's going up to nearly $11,000. And then so he's got two households that basically his son and his household that feed off that. So that's just under $5,500 per household. Now, we equated that back to a place in Melbourne, probably an $800,000 house that's got a nice job, probably taking home $120,000, which would be equivalent to what my friend is. And they're probably going to be paying in the order of about $380 for the levy. So you work the sums out on that. That's a fair difference. And, he doesn't make a lot of money. Yes, he's got a lot of asset, but you need that size asset to make just a basic living, not a fantastic living. It's just a basic living. Like, they don't live in the Flash's house. The house is 45 years old. It's just devastating that, that they can't see that. They think we're a milking cow and we can just keep taking the milk out of us and just, take the money and run. Well, it's, the line in the sand's been drawn.
Tell me about the land clearing, and there's and a possible royal commission into that.
Yeah, well, look, that's just another thing. Like, they've just basically, like I said, they don't have any respect for anybody. They just say, look, we're going to do this. This is what we want to do, and you can go to blazes, basically. And you can't treat people. You can't just go onto their land and say, we're just going to clear this. We talk about environmentally friendly and the green machine and all that. And that's a debate for another thing. But you can't say that on one side you're green. You go in and just clear hundreds and hundreds of acres of bush, wreck up prime farming land, and just say everything's okay. It's not okay. Like, you just find it flies in your face. Where are the Greens in all this? They're happy to sit on the coattails and say, we want all this money, we want this green energy, and we want this and we want that. But when the things that they should be caring about are getting cleared, where are they now? Why aren't they standing up and protecting the environment, protecting the native grasses and protecting the animals and stuff like that? They're not there. So they're not real Greens. We're no real Greens anymore. We're just prepared to just give everyone a hard time just for the sake of making money for whatever reason.
But the farmer is the real green. I mean, you have to look up, whether you're in the UK or New Zealand or wherever, if you don't look after the land, you'll go belly up, won't you? So, I mean, surely they would trust you guys. I mean, you've been doing it for quite some time.
Well, if you want to learn how to run your business from a financial perspective, you go and ask the accountant. If you want to know how to do your silage or whatever, you go and you talk to your contractor. If you want to understand, how to write newspapers, you go to the newspaper reporter. But, so if you want to know how to run a farm and run it profitably, the farmer's been doing it for 200 years in Australia, and before that in the UK and all over the world. So it's not like we don't know what we're doing or what they don't know what they're doing. We 100% do, and why do we have bureaucrats that have never been on a farm, don't have any inclination? The Environment Minister and the Agriculture Minister, they're not even farming people. They live in the city. So where's the practicality of what they're trying to preach? It's not there. And they've got no idea. Yet they're trying to tell farmers that have been generation farmers, and in a lot of cases, and they've got best case practices, and they know that if they don't protect their land or don't look after their land, they're not going to make money out of it. So they're already stretching everything to try and make it as good as possible. They're a highly tuned athlete, so to speak, but they're a highly tuned farm, and they're trying to make every dollar count. But yet this government just think we can just keep cashing them out, and eventually it's got to break. And that's the point we're seeing. And it's not just in Australia or in Victoria in our case. You're seeing that throughout the whole world. we've just got to wake up to ourselves. Otherwise, we won't have a world anymore. I don't know how we think we're going to feed. We're going to eat crickets or something the way we're talking.
Well, they want us to do that, which is terrible. Fancy throw a cricket on the barbie. Just quickly, again, the details for the rally on in Bendigo on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's 11 o'clock Weeroona Oval, which is just beside the lake. And yeah, the tankers will come in. Some will park on the oval, and then the rest will park on Bob Street and then walk across. So we've got a stage. So we've got 3 tankers set up. So we've dressed one up as the Princess Jacinta. Then there's the Titanic, and there's another tanker will be making its maiden appearance. So we won't let the cat out of the bag on that one. But then we'll have a rally. But, the other side of it is, we're expecting probably 500, 600 people there. So we'll have a barbecue and tea and coffee for them. And then we're going to drive around the main streets and, tractors and tankers basically showing Jacinta and anyone that will listen from the Labor side that what we really think of her tax and how we've been disrespected and
It's just terrible. And I mean, you've had practice chasing the Prime Minister in Ballarat, so I mean, you'll be in fine form, but no chucking wheelies, all right? Just quickly, I've had a chat to Ross before. He doesn't really care much about the footy because Carlton are a terrible side. We have to talk about the footy. It's finals. It is part of Australia's history and Victoria's history and way of life. Who do you follow?
So I'm the Hawthorn man, always have been, always will be.
Big one for you. I think it's tonight.
Yes.
Playing Adelaide, the City of Churches.
So Jack Ginnivan might cop a little bit, but look, I reckon we're going to be good enough to bounce back over the top. I reckon so. They're under a few. They've got a few demons to try and comprehend, I think, and we've been there before. So I reckon the Mighty Hawks, get on us. I reckon we'll be through this one, and then look out Geelong.
Yeah, I think that the Essendon Football Club would have like you to lose at the moment. But anyway, not many people out of Australia would understand what we're saying. We don't care. It's footy season. Just a pleasure, John. John Houston, CFA Volunteers President. We will do this again. And by the way, this is the Country Telegraph. Coming up next, the World Today.
If you missed your favorite show or interview, visit episodes on our website at theworldtoday.news. Our live shows are also on X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, and Twitch. Now there really is no reason to miss out on anything on theworldtoday.news.